Hello, this is Dave from Dimensional Consulting. Today we're going to talk about what the GD&T callouts control on a part with a planar primary datum feature, a net hole secondary datum feature, and a slot for a tertiary datum feature. This will be the well-known but little understood dot and slot. To understand what everything does, let's start from the beginning. We'll start with just a blank, infinitely large sheet of steel. The first thing we want to do is to control the flatness of our sheet of steel. We add a flatness tolerance. Then, since we know that we will want our planar surface to be our primary datum feature, we add a datum feature symbol. Now we put in a hole. It doesn't matter where, because it's just a hole in an infinitely large sheet of steel. There's no sense of location. The only things we can control about the hole are the size and the orientation relative to the primary datum. We know that we will want to use this hole as a secondary datum feature, so we add datum feature symbol B. Here's the part on the gauge for the perpendicularity tolerance. The gauge has an infinitely large surface to contact our infinitely large primary datum feature. Perpendicular to that surface, the gauge has a fixed size pin to go through the hole. The pin is fixed size because the perpendicularity tolerance has the MMC modifier. If the perpendicularity tolerance were RFS, the pin would be variable size. The size of the pin is the virtual condition size of 6.5. Now we add a slot. Because we want the slot to constrain the proper degrees of freedom and not just make a mess, we make sure that the axis of the slot goes through the center of the hole. We add a tolerance of position to the width of the slot, and because we know we will want to use the slot width as a datum feature, we add datum feature symbol C. Now let's talk about what this tolerance of position does and what it does not do. The tolerance of position references datum feature A primary and therefore controls the perpendicularity of the slot relative to datum A. That's the easy one to understand. The more difficult conversation is what the datum feature B reference does. People keep wanting to believe that this position tolerance locates the slot up and down in this view. But relative to what? We have an infinitely large sheet of steel with nothing else to locate the slot to in that direction. It does not locate the slot up and down in this view. Many people find that very difficult to accept. The tolerance of position aligns the axis of the slot relative to the hole. That's it. To understand what I am talking about, let's look at the part sitting on the gauge. This is the part sitting on the gauge for the position feature control frame. The gauge has a surface that contacts datum feature A. Perpendicular to that surface is a fixed size pin to go through datum feature B. It's a fixed size pin because the position tolerance references datum feature B at MMB. The size of the pin is the MMB size of 6.5. The slot has a fixed size block at the virtual condition size of 6.4. Now look at how the block constrains the slot. It constrains the rotation relative to the axis between the block at the slot and the pin at B. It does not constrain any translation. Now we add a hole that we will locate relative to A primary, B at MMB secondary, and C at MMB tertiary. We also dimension the length of the slot. Here is the part fitting on the gauge for the position tolerances that reference A primary, B at MMB secondary, and C at MMB tertiary. The gauge has an infinitely large surface to contact infinitely large datum feature A. This will constrain the translation in and out of the screen, plus 2 rotations. The gauge has an MMB sized pin of 6.5 diameter at datum feature B. This will constrain the translation in the horizontal direction and the translation in the vertical direction. It has an MMB sized block, 6.4 vertically, at datum feature C. This will constrain the rotation around datum B. Now the 6 degrees of freedom are constrained. It has a virtual condition block 19.6 horizontally to control the location of the length of the slot. And it has a virtual condition pin of 9.6 diameter to control the location of the 10 millimeter hole. The pins and blocks are all fixed size because of the MMC and MMB modifiers. If the feature control frames were RFS and RMB, then the pins and blocks would be variable size. Note that the edges of the part were not involved in any way. In fact, the part has no edges because it is infinitely large. This is what the GD&T means for a dot and slot when the dot is secondary and the slot is tertiary. That's today's video. If you want to see more tips like this, please subscribe. If there are additional topics you would like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. And visit my website at dimensionalconsulting.com.